here we are. It's friggin' 4th of July.
Yeah.
It's our Independence Day.
Oh. Oh yeah.
Happy 4th of July. Blah, blah, blah. What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the CultPop podcast live stream, aka spoiler alert, episode 742, where we review the past week's comics as well as talk about fun pop culture topics for your listening and viewing pleasure. Mostly viewing. I got a new shaving kit and I've trimmed up my werewolf stuff. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo, owner of Johnny Destructo's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, PA. A rad-ass shop for nerds of all shapes and sizes, except jerks. No jerks allowed. This is the part where I write anything in the script and JD reads it. Ooh la la, ah wee wee. With me this morning is a beautiful cadre of world-class co-hosts in order of the tallest to most diminutive. First up is Brian Lieb. Brian, where do babies come from? Wrong answers only.
Around. They're just like, you know, you stroll and then there they are. And sometimes you open up a cabinet. There's a baby in that cabinet.
That's the origin of children.
Some of them. Yeah.
Some of them.
That's great.
Also joining us today is Len, the Bat Tribble. Len, excluding Batman and Superman, what superhero has the best logo to place on a t-shirt?
Oh, that would be simple. Of course, it is the Blue Beetle.
Yeah. Oh man, who doesn't have 5 or 6 Blue Beetle shirts?
I probably would have gone with a. I probably would have gone with a cap shirt, but I don't know if I consider jingoistic because I'm American. Just the cap logo.
See now actually answering that question. No, the cap logo is the shield, but it actually probably is either the Flash or I feel dumb with a spider on my chest, so it would be.
How dare you?
Anybody that wears Spider-Man apparel are just inherently stupid, I feel.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's like they're dumb and garbage people. I'm not sure why I feel that way. It's just kind of
I don't know why you're so arachnophobic, Len.
I don't know. It's just honestly how I feel when I look at Spider-Man shirts. I
think the issue is that Spider-Man's logo is really the spider with all the webbing on the red. But when you do that, the webbing has to kind of stop.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
So also too, I think that T-shirts that are just a recreation of the torso of a costume are awful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
like if it's just all the Spider-Man thing with sleeves cut off, like his whole torso of his outfit, awful.
Like a tuxedo T-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, either commit or don't with your cosplay.
Yeah, get
Don't,
ripped
like,
and just wear that shirt. Or just wear the shirt.
Get ripped. Make a suit like young Peter Parker in his wrestling days and just own it.
Absolutely. I always wanted a Mage T-shirt from the Mage. You know, it's just a black
Shazam.
Yeah, but black and white.
It's Black Shazam. It's Black Adam. Black Adam shirt.
Christopher Goodnight says, hello, everybody. Robert Monroe down in the chat says, good morning, gents. Ghost10-246 says, Moon Knight would make a great T-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's good.
I concur.
Wait, but what about Green Lantern, you guys? I mean, I think that's a solid T-shirt logo. It's, it's simple, it's defined.
Green Lantern is
The Green Lantern doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
When it's I'm a fan of like the logos on the shirts being just kind of like center smaller, no bigger than like 3 or 4 inches in diameter. Okay. The shirts that the Green Lantern logo is like half of it just in the front. I think that's really tacky.
All right, fair enough.
And that's what he gets.
Christopher Goodnight says, surprised JD didn't just kick Noel out. I don't know why I would have kicked him out. Oh, damn it. We both have access to the controls behind the scenes, so he's able to just let himself back in.
Oh, it's so cool. Anyway.
I had some shirts that were like sketches, and they are very big, but they're very loose. I had a Flash, Superman, and Green Lantern, and they're great shirts, you guys. Like, I just wanted to share these, just like the sketch idea of it. It's very cool.
Actually, you know what? I probably shouldn't ask this on the air. I always wanted JD to make me a shirt, probably for the last like 2 years, and I keep forgetting to ask for it. On red, the Hickman X logo in the the brackets, just the X in the brackets.
Oh, the X with like it looks almost like an alarm clock X.
Yeah. But then on the back have the 3 laws.
No, that's pretty cool.
Do that up.
More
I'll make that
mutants.
shirt.
That's such a good shirt that I can't find anywhere. Like, the front, just the logo right here in the center, and then the 3 laws of Krakoa on the back. That's such a great idea for a shirt.
Good idea. Yeah.
Well, you just found it. I'll make it.
Yeah,
just remind me after the show because I'll forget.
I'll forget to remind you. Yeah, please. Anyway.
Last and certainly the shortest with us today is Kai Parker.
I knew it. I knew it. Saw it coming.
Nice.
He's definitely the tiniest of the group.
Baby.
Look at these feet. Look at these. Oh, that's the microphone. He's got the microphone. He's learning to grab stuff now, so that's fun.
Well,
and also Noel's here. Hi, Noel.
Hey.
Let's see your feet.
No, I'm not gonna support your fetish.
All right, fine.
This ain't the Quentin Tarantino show.
I know, right?
Thank you to everyone joining us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you like what we're doing here, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. The joy of doing this live with you is having you in the chat. So pipe up if you feel so inclined, and we'll chat with you. Before we get into the comics this week, we have letter.
We have letter.
Oh, we have
letter.
Oh, we're doing it.
Nope. Okay,
we're not doing it.
Hollywood pitches. It's called Hollywood Pitches. Everyone, shut up. Hollywood Pitches, and sometimes you can't go home. Let's see. What's up? What up, doe, guys? It's your boy Charles in Chattanooga, aka the Green Lantern Tribble, aka Hal 2814. Happy day. I have 2 topics for y'all. 1, since Hollywood is hot to adapt comics into TV and movies, I thought of 2 books I would like to see as a series or a movie: Stealth and Something is Killing the Children. I've already imagined Aubrey Plaza. As the lead for Something is Killing the Children, and it was cool to see a superhero story as unique as Stealth, based in Detroit, with actual areas and street names mentioned. My question for the crew is, what comic would you like to see either live action or animated? We'll stop there.
Any comic?
Question. Yeah. Before I throw it to you guys, those are excellent choices. I would like to see Stealth as well as Something is Killing the Children, and the Aubrey Plaza casting is inspired. Well done.
I think Something is Killing the Children is like a second away from being optioned. Like Tinian has been hinting at it, so just wait a touch longer. Yeah,
it'll happen.
I'm sorry, I was reading the comments. Yeah. What was yours? I
said Aubrey Plaza is a terrible choice for slot. No,
well, I mean, Christopher Goodnight concur. Says Plaza is too old for the lead of Something.
I wouldn't say that. Erica Slaughter though is actually, I guess maybe she's a little younger. Either way, they're getting into her origin now. I think those would both be really, really fun. I would be more interested in Stealth though, like a gritty science fiction version of Stealth. I think that would be fantastic. One movie.
I think Stealth would be great too. I would, counter that with another book that is set in Detroit, Abbott, which talks about a news reporter dealing with some, paranormal, supernatural stuff in 70s Detroit, juxtaposed against the political and civil situation there. I think Abbott would be great as a live action vehicle. I would love that. Stealth, I think, would work. Stealth, I think, would work, but I would like to see Stealth animated a la Invincible, which I think would really sell it over well. But Abbott, I could definitely see live action.
Do you have someone in mind for the titular Abbott?
Well, I do. She may be actually a little aged out of it as well, but in my mind would be Simone Missick.
I knew you were going to say Simone. I knew it. Of course.
Well,
I saw that coming.
Well, primarily, honestly, the reason is because she was born and raised in Detroit. So in this time, so she would know that time, and I think it's a
great choice.
role that she could own. Yeah.
I mean, is there anything about Abbott that says that she's a certain age or needs to be a certain age?
Well, no, I mean, I guess you don't have to be, but considering that the second book goes forward 10 years, is like it's set in the 80s, and if you wanted to do that and then possibly do the sequel, she probably would definitely by then be aged out of that. So that's what I don't know. I would love to see her involved in it. I would love to see Abbott.
It's still in the 70s.
No. The next book
Abbott's
is
still in the
80s.
70s. It's not
The one that we read, isn't it subtitled 1970?
I'm sorry.
The one we read is in 1970, but the one that's ongoing now or is about to be collected is in the 80s.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure it was. I thought it was like
remember.
84.
I don't remember.
No. That's okay. It doesn't matter. There's Abbott. The first
It
Abbott
matters
came
to
out a couple
me!
years ago. And then the second Abbott is 1973, which is it's like just wrapped up. Now maybe there's a third series coming out in the 80s. That'd be cool.
Oh, so wait a minute. So the first one was. Oh, so the second one is just a year later. I thought it was 10 years. Oh, well then never mind.
It's pretty close to the end of the original Abbott series.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well then she can do it both.
Excellent.
Let's give her a call. I want Once and Future.
Oh, that would be cool.
I want that too.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
A live action, practical effects, dank dungeon, neon hued Once and Future adaptation.
That'd be cool.
Yo.
Yeah.
Nicholas Winding Refn. I want the sets to be wet when they're in Otherworld. It could be the most visually appealing movie. I mean, you could do it as anime, but I want it fully realized personally.
Yeah. I'm into that.
One I would like to see in animation.
Shit.
I would like to see Decorum animated.
Oh, it would be incomprehensible.
Wow. I know, right? It would be crazy, and I would love it if it was well done.
I mean, good luck making that live action.
Thank you.
Hasn't finished it yet.
It hasn't. There's still one issue left. Yeah. I just want to see that shit in animated style.
What's up, honey? Are you frustrated?
Len, I have a big question for you. What is that lightning bolt behind you on the wall?
Oh. This is
it an award?
Yes, it is my award. It's the Black Tribbles award from 2014 when we won the Philadelphia Geek Awards for streaming media.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, congratulations. It's a little late, but
Oh yeah.
I hope you're still enjoying it.
Also, cool statue.
Yeah,
yes,
it is a cool statue. Oh, that's really cool.
It's pretty dope. Actually, let me do this. I'll give you all the full effect if I can do it real quick. Here, where is it? There we go. Oh. No, yeah, it lights up, but I think the power's dead. It's 6 years old.
Like lights up on the edges and that kind
of thing. Yeah, it's 6 years old, so it's
that's awesome. Yeah, still 7.
That's cool.
Actually.
Yeah, but the memory is eternal.
I was just
the accolade is priceless and unaging.
Yeah, that's the first of our two Geek Awards. The other one's one of the other Tribbles has. So.
That's cool,
mine would be Strangers in Paradise live action ongoing television series.
Would you skip to maybe the first chapter or the first book or two where it's kind of not sure what it wants to be? Just be the relationship show.
Well, the relationship and intrigue, political intrigue. Yeah.
And espionage.
Espionage.
I still need to revisit that. I only read the first chunk. I know you have it at the shop.
Man,
I've been eyeballing it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to continue this email. Second topic. I came home from work one morning and saw that Super Friends was on HBO Max, and I thought, cool. Yes, I love that as a kid. So I turned it on, and after a rough 15 minutes, Turn it off. It wasn't just the dated dialogue and animation, but how they treated Wonder Woman like a little girl who needed to be told she was doing a good job. One scene, Aquaman needed a ride in her invisible jet, but they showed him holding the steering wheel. What? WTH. So my second question for the crew is, there a movie, TV show, or cartoon you liked as a kid, but when you go back and watch it, you're like, WTH? Anyway, I'm out. Hopefully I get up and watch you guys live on Sunday. And in closing, spoiler alert! Oh, and we already know who that was. It's Charles in Chattanooga. All right. So something that we have revisited that we went,
I can't think of anything that's like intensely problematic that I've recently revisited, but like thinking back, it's not like something that I see or that happens. Thinking back, it's mostly what's not there. Like when I think about the movies that I grew up with and the shows that I watched, it's so incredibly apparent now in adulthood how homogenized they are and how whitewashed everything is, and how, like it's really more about like the sweeping stereotypes or the like special guest that's a black person but they're not in the cast, or the really racial stereotyped Asian character, and they're just like one little piece. Like it's always what's missing, not necessarily something inserted. Yeah. That's what I noticed the most watching stuff now.
I mean, I'm currently doing a rewatch of Buffy season 1, and Xander sucks. I used to think, Xander, the everyman, the every guy. Yeah. He is, oh man. The stuff he pulls on Buffy and Willow is just gross. But, he's a high school boy, right? So I try to give it that, it's written for a perspective of a high school boy. A lot of this tracks. So he's got some learning to do as a character. But I think there's, I forget, I've seen it on Twitter where it's just like the whole Twitter dedicated to Xander is awful. And like all the things that Xander does to sort of force himself on Buffy. Not physically, but like all of his little schemes and stuff. While just being like, Buffy's paying attention to other. Oh, he's the nice guy thing, right? You hear about those guys who are like, oh, how come she never wants anyone nice? But the nice guy always turns out to be an asshole. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, not always. Okay. Sometimes it is kind of
hashtag not all men. Sorry, Brian.
Well, no. I mean, like, I take issue with the whole nice guy thing. Because, like, those people are not nice. There are nice people out there who are...
but that's what we're discussing. Is the not nice people thinking that they're nice until they're rejected, and then they're not nice.
Yeah, Brian, what I'll say to that, it's not the concept of a nice guy that's being issued. It's the concept, it's the idea that those that aren't actually perceive themselves as and declare it to everyone, and it's why they're not like ahead of the game. Sure. It's a coping mechanism, not a reality for these instances.
That's true. I guess
I know that I'm a nice guy. Yeah. I know that I'm not aggressive. I know that like I'm not pushing for what I want. So like when you was younger, that was an excuse. Whereas for some people, it's just coping.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comment here from Ghost Hand 246. I used to love Friends as a kid. Then I got back and it's the most boring and lamest thing. Speaking specifically to Friends, years ago, this woman I was dating was rewatching Friends, and she was watching the episode. And I think Jennifer Aniston's character was having like a shower, maybe a wedding shower, some type of shower, some type of party at her house. And like all her friends were there. And I was just casually walking by the screen, by the room. And I've never watched a full episode of Friends in my entire life. It's not done anything for me. But as I walked by and I stopped and I said, oh, they're having like a party. She's like, shh, I'm watching. I was like, oh, okay. She doesn't have any black friends, because this was a room of at least 25, 50 people into this apartment, and there were no black friends. I went in the kitchen, made myself something to eat, came through to go back upstairs. She had changed the channel, and as I walked by, she said, "Fuck you, Len," because because I ruined Friends for her because she, was able to suspend belief and just watch it for what it was. She could no longer watch it like that. And that is how I feel. Not so much the dated thing. Like I could have told him, like, don't return to the Super Friends. Just hold on to those memories. Hold on to those Saturday morning memories of long ago, and don't go back to the Super Friends. Not because of how they treat Wonder Woman, just because it is a lame ass show. But that's how I feel watching so many things. You have to kind of like suspend belief. I am doing, for God knows why, I don't know why, I am doing a rewatch of the entire, well, up until he leaves, first 5 seasons of the Andy Griffith Show. Why? Because I'm a huge Don Knotts fan. Right. And Don Knotts is funny, and the show for the most part is a very sweet, genteel, truly humorous, funny show that I am enjoying for the most part. But there is there are episodes on this show that, like, there's one episode where they are basically not going to go out with this woman because they basically just say, like, oh, she's a dog. And she's not a dog. She's not a dog. She's not an unattractive woman. I mean, maybe she's, but they're just straight up, she's a dog, and that's the humor of it. Right. You know what I mean? And I'm like, ooh, that's not cool. You couldn't do that today, right?
That's one of the things that frustrated me so much about Seinfeld. Like, there's some good stuff on Seinfeld, but like the reasons they would break up with people. I remember one specifically was like, she had man hands.
Right. Yeah, man hands.
Well,
she had big hands, and so
that's not a reason to break up. But she did have some big hands.
She did. They probably used an actual man's hands for those.
I was gonna say, like, when they cut to it, it was like a bodybuilder's hands.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty funny because I think at one point the character, all you see are their hands, and just like rending apart a lobster, like just a real cracking it in half. And that was funny, but I was also like, these characters are awful people.
Right.
I was gonna say, like, that's my problem with Seinfeld in general. Like, encapsulated it was funny, but as I think back on it, it's just a handful of sociopaths who have absolutely no repercussions. So I loved the finale when they all were put in jail. Because these people have been fucking terrible for 9 years. They've been sociopathic and selfish for 9 years. Yeah. Put them in jail. That's hilarious. Whereas something like It's Always Sunny, sociopathic characters constantly punished. Mm-hmm. And that's the joke. So it's like, that's something that Seinfeld is something that I watch and cringe at more now, because it's like, this is just shitty. You're just shitty.
See, I think comedies are extrapolated examples of real life, right? If you start applying the actual rules of life,
that's true.
Most people in comedies are terrible people because they are larger than life. Like, the thing that came to mind for me was Tom Haverford and April Ludgate in Parks and Rec, right? When I watched it to begin with, like, Tom Haverford does some pretty questionable things, and April Ludgate is like irredeemably awful. Even her redemption at the end is like barely anything. Right. And yet I see it and I'm like, April is showing the slightest bit of emotion. How touching.
I was going to say, I would push against those examples because both of them in quieter moments in the show were revealed to actually have altruistic motivations and or emotions. Whereas something like Seinfeld, they went out of their way to never show them in emotional or compromising situations. You were never allowed to.
I mean, they, like, every sitcom is that, like, characters doing things that they wouldn't normally, that no one in real life would do.
Yeah,
and
that's
I think
set up joke punchline.
Yeah. Right. And, like, I think you have to, like, adjust for inflation when judging these characters, right? Like, these are not real people doing real things. These are, like, grander versions of these ideas that maybe you would think was funny if nobody ever got hurt, because nobody ever gets hurt because they're not real people. With
Seinfeld, they're grander versions of assholes, so they're bigger assholes, and I don't enjoy that.
Well, that's fair. I mean, that's fine.
They're not real. They're not fully realized characters as a part of the joke. For some people, that's the feature. For me, that's the bug.
Well,
I don't enjoy it.
In Buffy.
Seinfeld is the thing that just it definitely is of its time. And there definitely is still humor to be found in the show, but it is a show that, doesn't age well. It hasn't aged that well.
The situations they're in are very comedic.
Right.
It's all of like the players that I have no connection to whatsoever.
Right.
And for fiction, that's great for 20 minutes at a time. But if we're talking about the legacy of a 9-year television show, I don't care.
That's fine.
You know what I mean? Like it's
sure.
If it was a
like
one-act
Xander
play that I saw once.
Right. Like if anybody actually did the things that Xander did, you'd be like, oh my god.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
Awful.
But you know what? Like seasons 4 through 7, they reconciled with that character. Like they gave him his own identity as opposed to crushing on Buffy and being an incel. But if it just ended at season 1, it'd be like, this guy's an idiot. However, if you're reading the comic, they deal with the Xander situation like in the 5th issue.
Yeah.
Ghost Hand 246, I think, makes a really good point. He says you can still appreciate it for what it is. And I'm not sure what he's referring to, but it applies to everything.
He's talking about Friends.
Sure. As a stepping stone that existed so better shows could come along. Right? That is the goal of progressivism. That progress. That you would later on be like, oh, we are better than we used to be. Right? So it's okay.
Yeah, but there were already better shows.
Oh, sure. Well, and it was an issue with Friends at the time. I mean, Chris Goodnight mentioned that they had a handful of black people on later in the show. I think that was a direct response to the criticism of that show.
Yes.
You know, like that
they
was
shoehorned, I think, Aisha Tyler on this to the show.
Was
she,
she
dated like Ross. She dated like Ross or something
for a little while.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Fuck them. Sorry.
It's fine.
Never apologize.
Fair.
All right.
Well, I mean, unless you have done something you think is wrong.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Hal 2814 just chimed in. Morning, guys. What I missed? You missed your letter, Hal.
Yeah.
You just wrapped up your letter.
We just wrapped it up.
All right. Let's start over. What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation?
All right. We're moving on, suckers. United States of Captain America #1 from Marvel Comics, written by Christopher Cantwell and Josh Trujillo, with art by Dale Eaglesham and Jan Bazaldua. The shield has been stolen. No one understands the value of the shield like those who've wielded it. So Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson set out on a road trip across America to chase down the thief. But instead, they find the captains, everyday people from all walks of life who've taken up the mantle of Captain America to defend their communities. And for some reason, the shield thief wants them all dead. Can Sam and Steve get to them first? Probably. That
was sinister.
Yeah.
Get to them first.
Get to them first. I think it's weird that like a time-displaced Captain America and Agent 13 are gunning after these kids. But
what?
I mean, that's just my theory. Right? I mean, you have a Captain America leading them on a chase. No one's actually trying to be killed. And someone shoots at, who looks like, the silhouette looks very much like Sharon Carter, shoots at someone and then dives away. It just feels like it's a red herring to get these characters where they need to be for some reason. I'm just curious to see how we're doing or how we're going to end up with that.
Super speed, though, the other Captain America.
But
he might have Captain America speed.
Can Captain America catch up to a train and leave whoosh marks like that?
Yeah,
he can leave whoosh marks.
He's always whoosh marking.
I mean, that's
which is German.
Whoosh marking. Yes.
But a lot of people, it's so funny to watch the people online who are like, I'm so angry at this book. Mostly because they only read headlines. And they're like, Marvel's new Captain America is gay. And they're like, oh, you can't change him to gay, rasm, frasm, fiddle diddle. And this is basically Steve's going through, and we're going to meet a bunch of different Captain Americas from a bunch of different places. The next one being Harrisburg.
As Sam Wilson points out.
What's that?
Captain's America, as Sam Wilson points out, which I love.
Thank you, Captain's America.
I love a good internal pluralization. It's awesome.
I don't think you know what, I had to remember the shooter. I don't think the shooter is Sharon whatsoever. I think it's I just don't think it's Sharon. I think they showed something in future solicitations. Think of how these people are taking up the mantle of Captain America across the country. something like that, but like a villain version or a faction that he deals with often.
Okay.
So,
I'll say it.
I have
Flag
a
Smashers.
question.
I think it's a new Flag Smasher.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Well, taking the mantle because he doesn't handle it properly. That kind of. So why is he like somebody's parading around looking like Captain America? I'm gonna drive out in my not Captain America outfit.
Right?
Right? Like, why don't you wear your regular
I
uniform?
thought that was weird too. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I mean, not to cause confusion.
To us, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
No, I
or
mean,
to
like-
the people. You mean?
To the masses. I
Oh,
guess? I
like
don't
that
know.
dude's not Captain America. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, that's the one without the shield holster. I don't know. I mean, I don't. This whole series is just going to be like a excuse to touch base with all of the Captain America member berries from the last 80 years. So we got to get every costume in there. We got to get the virtual shield in there. We got to get.
I remember
everyone
that
that's ever
shield.
done
That shit
before.
was pretty cool.
Like
Yeah.
you gotta hit all the marks. I thought this was fine.
Yeah.
It was just fine. I didn't love the Dale Eaglesham art that much.
Mhm.
I didn't like it at all.
Oh, I like the art a lot.
And it was just, I don't know, it was just really sloppy. The best part of this book was just learning about the idea that there were parts in this book that I was so kind of like bored with the prophesizing that I thought about how he was cleaning his shield. Like, oh, that must smell, the vinegar and the soap together, and he's doing it with his bare hands. You can't just get that out. He probably like Captain America probably smells like stale vinegar all the time. That's awful. Like, that's what I'm thinking because I'm so disinterested in the conversation that he's having in his own head.
Yeah.
He was just pontificating about what America is.
Yeah, but it happened.
God is Captain America, right?
It must be really boring inside his head because I've read a version. And this is my problem because I read Captain America. Read a version of this so many times, and this is like not the best way it's been done.
Right.
But I love the idea of randos taking up symbology for their own, to protect their own little communities. I love that idea. And I want this book to be about more than that. But then when I got to that feeling and then the conversation with Sam and Cap at the end, like they decide to go searching for these people, which is great. But then almost out of nowhere, it's like, I'm going to strap the suit on again. I was like, where in that conversation did it become imperative for both of you to be Captain America? At that moment, I didn't understand the plot mechanics to get you there. I understand why they're doing it in a comic, but I didn't understand the character reasons for both of them to be Captain America. It's like
I guess he's like, well, there's a lot of other Captains America, so I'll be one with you, Steve. You're right though.
It felt really, felt odd. It felt odd and weak. Like Sam is a wildly confident and capable character. In this conversation, I didn't understand why he wasn't just going to be Falcon. I didn't get it.
Hey, JD or no, whoever is banning the pages there, can you flip? I think it's JD and he just walked away.
It is JD.
No, I want go to the end. Go to the last page. That page right there. I had already tuned out of this stupid comic book because, I've read Captain America. I've seen this issue. I've seen this story 1,000 times. Captain America lamenting what, his place in America. What is America to him? Blah, blah, blah. The idea of him cleaning the shield. I haven't often seen that. So that was kind of cool to see. I don't think it was well played out by Dave Eaglesham because while he can draw, I don't think he's a good storyteller. And we all know that he only has one body type. But when we get to this page, and I'm checking out
heights. That's it.
The heights right here, where Captain America is like 3/4 of the damn page and like a head taller than the Falcon. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, I am done. I am absolutely done with this book. I do not like this. You want to talk about symbolism as a black man reading this and turn into that page? I'm like, get the fuck out of here with your fucking Aryan looking bitch ass. Get the fuck out my hand, man. Like, no, fuck that, man. I was like, yo, I checked so hard out of this book, and I was already checked out. I like the whole idea of the symbolism and all that type of stuff, and it's kind of cool, but it just was not well done. But right here, I was like, get the fuck out of here. It made no sense for Falcon, who was already well and back into his falconness. Well, I need to strap up the costume again because I want to get back up in my mouth. Steve, get the fuck out of here. This bullshit. No, fuck this book.
What'd you think about? So were you too mad to read the backup? Because I liked the backup more than I liked the main story.
I was too bored to read the backup.
I was like, no, I didn't care about the backup. I saw that it was about Young Bull, and I was like, oh, I'm probably supposed to care about this. That's kind of interesting. Even though there was a part of me, it was like, like Young Bull, you don't strike me as like, that's cool, you taking up the symbolism, but you don't strike me as somebody who's really got the cojones or the skills to really like bang out for your people like that. So they might be better served as somebody else taking that shield from you, bruh. Like, I see what you're doing, but I got this for you, dude. But God bless you. Somebody's got to show him and lead the way, and maybe you'll be a martyr for your people.
Yeah, that could be an element of like
same
some of
thing,
these caps might go down.
I was thinking the same thing, but then I thought of Robin. All the different Robins.
Robin was trained, though.
He's trained by Batman.
Not day one.
Right. Well, he doesn't go out right away.
He doesn't go out day one.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Drake takes up himself and fights some dudes before he becomes Robin.
Yeah.
I get what
plenty of
JD's
times
trying
where
to say.
Robins have just put on the costume and become a Robin and start jumping off of buildings. Carrie Kelly.
Okay,
Tim Drake. Tim Drake, Carrie Kelly. I think no one gives them a...
No, I'm agreeing with you. That's all. Yeah. It's like how the fight is choreographed. That's the problem, not any of the motivations or any of the actions. Like he looks way too skilled.
Yeah.
But besides that, all of everything leading up to it, I had no issue with. And like to bring it back to the point of like the My America thoughts of Cap, Ta-Nehisi Coates did it 5,000 times better. Like some of those issues of all, like there was literally no dialogue in the issues. It was all just the mental kind of, or the thoughts of Cap while he's going through a room of like street thugs, street toughs, I think is the cool like Chuck Dixon term for it. Like street toughs, just a group of street toughs. Some of that was goddamn poetry compared to how Cantwell kind of put it together here. And I really like Christopher Cantwell a lot.
Same.
So I'm not, I don't know why this missed the mark so much. And on multiple levels for me too, because I love Captain America books too.
Cantwell didn't do the backup, but
no, I'm talking about the book. The main book didn't work for me. Yeah,
I did like that. As you mentioned, Len, when he's cleaning the shield, I like that kind of thing in superhero stuff. I just think it's fun to see, Barry Allen putting the costume back in the ring, or like Superman's boots sitting by the bed, that kind of thing. That like how it would actually be, kind of deal. Other than that, I agree with everybody's criticisms of this book.
Road trips with slice of life in comics are the best. I agree. I actually do like road trips quite a bit. And then he GhostDan246 says those boys look beefy.
Good job.
There's some beefy boys.
And you know what? They should have just done the Predator, just like one arm and another, just like shaking hands and just like biceps, not like the whole picture. Oh yeah, he's got. Do you guys know what I'm referring to?
Yes.
I was hired to do posters for the Colonial Movie Theater for a couple years there, and one of the ones was for the Predator film. And so I sell prints at my store of my artwork, and I'm trying to get to it as quickly as I can. But I did a Predator. I did a Predator poster where it's the Predator is using his Predator vision to watch that scene and going, "What the fuck What the fuck are you guys doing? And that's my poster for the Predator.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
JD, do you also do custom work at your store at 4327 Main Street?
I do. Thank you so much for asking. I do commissions and pet portraits.
How much are those prints?
Those prints?
Yeah.
The prints you just showed. How much are those prints?
How much
the 11 by 17s are $20, and the 8.5 by 11s are 10.
That's cool. Do people have to like come in, drag their asses all the way down to the store to get those prints, or is there some mechanism to send them to those people?
There's a thing called the internet.
JD, that question was for Len.
I see you. I see you with the fuck. And I can't tell if it's these motherfuckers or if that's as smooth as nothing. Like
you can go to johnnydestructo.com, which just takes you to my Etsy store, and you can buy the prints and t-shirts.
Sweet. Oh, now we're on different sides, and I have to figure out which
I know.
turn if I want to pretend look at Len.
Crossover number 7 from Image Comics, written by Chip Zdarsky this time. So the crossover series is originally by
Donny Cates.
And Jeff Shaw. But this particular issue is written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Phil Hester. The solicitation says, wait, no, hold on. What is this? Why is Chip writing my book? Sorry, I know this is unprofessional to do in public, but no one at Image is answering my emails. Someone please call me. What is happening? That was the solicitation.
And scene.
Yeah. What'd you guys think of this book, the Chip Zdarsky book? I thought it was cute.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I thought it could have been like, and they even joke about this in the book. It could have been masturbatory, but somehow it was charming.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really just tone. And I've not read that far into Sex Criminals to even get the reference, but the way that he laid it out in the context of this issue was enough. Like,
yeah, I appreciated that too.
I love the idea. So if this is a reality where comic books bleed into the real world and it's potentially their malicious versions of characters and blah, 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 what does that mean for characters like people like Chip Zdarsky, who has written and drawn himself in a comic? There's a dupe of you out there potentially. And is that dupe a villain or like, and the fact that they were also able to propel the overarching plot within this side story that is masturbatory, I think it was just impressive. I think it was just overall pretty impressive.
Also, there are two different personas, which I didn't even know that Chip Zdarsky's name was not Chip Zdarsky. So I think that made it a little more interesting as well, like this window into this guy's psychology, but also, you know, that he's sharing this kind of thing, but also it is a little bit more than he's just meeting a fictional version of himself. He's meeting the fictionalized version of himself that he has in his head. It's not just he wrote himself into a story. I'll tell you, I am just kind of getting tired of mystery unreveals, I think, in comics and in pop culture in general. I'm like, who is that guy? Just tell me now who it is.
The one at the end? The one that killed? The one at the end? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I have to wait around for another issue to see 5 issues to see who it is?
Well, you see, this is a classic 7th issue kind of scenario where they set up the next arc with a side story in a way. Oh, no, I love this reveal too. I did not see this coming.
They're from Power. They're from
Powers, man.
I never read Powers.
Oh,
Brian Michael Bendis comic book.
Yeah. I've heard of it. I've heard it's good, but
I think you would love it.
Yeah.
Like it takes superhero tropes and puts it into a procedural. It's wonderful.
It was good. It was good. I don't think they're doing it anymore, but it was good.
They are and they aren't. It's weird. Yeah.
It's like a cop story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought this was cool. I actually kind of like found myself like really identifying with the whole idea of having your artistic self almost be another persona, right? You know, like almost being like this alter ego of yourself, because sometimes, you know, I've had it, you know, and I know a lot of artistic guys that have done that, where you just in your mind, you just create this other person who you tap into for when needed. I still remember I talked to I did an interview with Daryl McDaniels, DMC of Run DMC, and he was talking about how geeky he was. He was like a 100% geek, hardcore comic book sci-fi guy, but he would put on his glasses, Cazel's at the time, and his hat, and he would turn into the great DMC, and he had to do that in his head because that's the only way he could step on stage and actually perform and pull this off. And it became almost like a security blanket for him. And I really identified with this scene that JD is showing right there, where the alter ego of Chip is like kind of like, you know, the security blanket for real Chip or Richard or whatever his real name was. I kind of like I identified it. I didn't 100% track with the story as it was going on, so I had to read it a couple of times, but it was interesting. It was cool. I'm a fan of Phil Hester's art, and I'd like to see how he has progressed artistically. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was cool.
This is much more where I'd like to see people like what's his name? Andy Parks and Phil Hester.
Yeah.
I almost said Phil Parks. Then Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
We just recently
much more suited to this.
Yes, this is great. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Phil Hester. I love this. This is where he belongs.
Yeah.
Not so much on a Superman story. So
he was trying to do the Golden Age Superman stuff, right? That was him with like the just very recent stuff where
he was the stuff with Philip Kennedy Johnson, the
like,
Superman's losing his powers and John Kent is gaining.
Yeah. I felt like they were trying to do a Golden Age kind of feel to that, and
okay.
I think it didn't work.
No.
Hey, Len, what you said earlier about putting on personas, I think is one of the things that shows us that we can be, and I think this is interesting, we can be whatever we want, right? Like, we are who we want to be. And even when they're like the things that are problems, a lot of times, I'm not a psychologist, but it kind of feels like we think we should have those problems. You know, like deeper in ourselves, we feel like I want to be upset about this thing or whatever, right? Like, I'd rather this thing wasn't the case, but since it is, I want to be upset about it. And that doesn't touch any of the like deeper mental issues. But, you know, I just think we have great power over ourselves that we subconsciously use and sometimes consciously use to create these existences for ourselves. And if we could master that, we'd be happier and more contented people.
Amen.
Yeah.
I did love that panel.
Yeah, it's great, right?
I got you. It was like it was surprisingly emotional. This book was great.
Yeah.
I like it.
I, Johnny Destructo, have no ability to relate to this story whatsoever. I do not know where this artist is coming from.
AKA, get out of my head, Chip.
Yeah, right? Green Arrow 80th anniversary, #1. It's a one shot. There's no #2. Relax about it. DC Comics, written by Jeff Lemire, Tom Taylor, Devin Grayson, Benjamin Percy, Vita Ayala, etc., and art by Phil Hester, Andrea Sorrentino, Nicola Scott, Mike Grell, etc., celebrating the Emerald Archer's 80th anniversary. For the last 8 decades, Green Arrow has been premier and loudest characters in the DCU, always at the forefront of where the superhero genre is headed. This oversized anniversary issue follows in those footsteps as an all-star lineup of Green Arrow creators, alongside some of the gifted creators of the modern era who have been inspired by Oliver Queen, unite to pay tribute to the Battling Bowmen. See what the past, present, and future have in store for Ollie, Black Canary, Connor Hawk, Arsenal, Red Arrow, Speedy, and more in this epic special. This was fun. I actually quite enjoyed this. I like that they went, I don't know, a lot of these anniversary issues do the same thing where the teams will do stories regarding very specific times in that character's existence, like very specific eras.
Yeah.
For some reason, it just really stuck out to me in this one. That's what they're doing. I'm like, oh, this is this era, this is this era, this is this era.
The good ones do. I think the last one that was really good that did this was the Robin one. So like not only was it different Robins, but they also like this is specifically in the Chuck Dixon continuity. This is specifically Grant Morrison, Damian. This is like they went to like pre or post crisis continuities and just did a little story.
Also,
Which
quick
is
aside,
awesome, but
blue and gold, very exciting.
I'm into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't like them at all when they were in their heyday, and I've just grown to like them more and more over the years.
I'm more excited about Ryan Sookart than I am Dan Jurgens' writing. But
absolutely.
We're going to talk about the first issue for sure, and we'll see if it's on time.
That's what I was about to say. I'm excited about Ryan Sook. I just wish it was a graphic novel, so we'd have the whole story in one. But on to this. This was a lot of fun. To JD's point, I think you can get away with that with characters such as Robin and Green Arrow, who haven't had like long stretches or long runs of their books. So the characters therefore really fit in like eras. You know what I mean? There definitely was the long bow hunter era of Green Arrow, which was Mike Grell. So boom, you've got Mike Grell there. You've got Golden Age Arrow without the beard and everything like that, and even they've put in TV Arrow if you really want to read it that way. And
wait, which one do you say that was?
I would say that's the one where he's like with Diggle and a bunch of them. It read to me like like I'm drawing my blank on the actor's name who played him.
Stephen Amell.
Yeah, Stephen Amell. Like I could hear Stephen Amell as I was reading that dialogue. Green Arrow for a long time in the 70s and 80s was primarily a member of the Justice League. So that's that era. You see him with the whole fighting with Hawkman and everything like that. What I think that this does that a lot of the other big anniversary things didn't do, or at least I don't remember them doing, is that they have fun with the format. Like I like the whole idea where it's just clips of Green Arrow and you talk about this is how he gets along with friends. Like that was kind of cool. And he's got the chili recipe. I thought that was pretty dope. So while yes, I'm still pining for my Lois Lane 80-page anniversary, this actually made me like realize why at one time I was a big Green Arrow fan. It was kind of fun.
It was interesting for me because I've never been a Green Arrow fan. There's never been a period of time where I'm like, Green Arrow, got to read that comic. But this, for some reason, this one, I just really like the whimsy of the Golden Age one, even though, I made an invisible arrow. Like it's very nonsensical.
It's what it was.
Still a potent weapon also if they happen to reach their hands into that box.
Yeah, it would still be there, right?
It's an invisible arrow. I mean, it's impressive.
But and also the one thing really bugged me. For some reason, the Green Arrow physics always have bugged me a little bit. Like in the one with the boxer Wildcat, and it's the origin of the boxing arrow glove because he's getting
Tom Taylor,
he's getting boxing lessons from Wildcat, and so he takes a broken arrow, jams it into a boxing glove, and then shoots it up at a guy who's flying, and it knocks him out. It's still like a boxing glove with nothing in it other than a stick.
Traveling very fast.
Yeah. It still would just be like,
yeah, definitely.
So you hit me with a boxing glove. Okay.
Right. This is the thing you put on your hand so it doesn't hurt as much when you hit somebody else.
And now it doesn't even have the hand in it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but it's, silly.
The art is gorgeous.
The art in all of these stories, I think, is really, really nice. Even this guy who looks like he's trying to do a little bit of a Neil Adams look.
Yeah.
See, actually,
pretty well.
I didn't peep him as Neil Adams. I thought he was doing an homage. I guess you could see it as Adams. I looked at it and saw it as an homage to Dick Dillon, who for a long time was the Justice League artist of that time. So, and don't get me wrong, he's better than Dick Dillon, but he's very serviceable art. Mike Grell, who I used to kneel at the altar of Mike Grell,
I haven't read this yet.
He's what he is.
Run.
I've never liked Mike Grell's art.
Yeah. Oh,
Mike
I like
Grell's
his
definitely
art.
of his time. He's definitely of his time, and this is old man Mike Grell. It's not really that well done. And to be honest, I didn't think the story was that great. This is probably my least favorite. Yeah, I didn't get it.
There's two things I want to add. One of my favorite parts of this whole thing was the Wikipedia page style interstitial of
and I was talking about that, how to make friends.
I love this. Yeah. This was great. I want every single one of these anniversary issues to have something like that, almost just kind of overviewing the character. This is the first one I recall doing, which is awesome. And I miss Judd Winnick. Judd Winnick had an awesome run on Green Arrow. It's where he made a mayor, introduced Mia, all of that awesome stuff, and it's not represented here. That era, I mean, it kind of is with the Phil Hester and Andy Parks bit, but not. I just miss Judd Winnick doing more than kids comics. Judd Winnick, come back.
Yeah, he was great.
Also,
he was
the Connor Hawk one was good.
The Connor Hawk one was great.
Connor Hawk has one arrow.
Yeah.
He just grabs over and over again, and it bounces around like Captain America's shield, knocking people out. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was
the
really
boomerang arrow?
No, he just finds a way to get it back.
Well, no, it's got a blunt tip, like a bounce, and it literally every time it hits something, it bounces back.
I guess it does bounce around.
I guess I don't think he calls it a boomerang arrow. Technically, I think the boomerang arrow has a boomerang on
the end of it.
That's awful.
Which would definitely work.
That aerodynamically, it's awful. It doesn't.
If you put a box
aerodynamics.
Again, this was better than expected. No, that's wrong to say. This was a good version of these anniversary issues that they're constantly doing.
But they're at a period now where they've got a lot of characters hitting at big anniversaries.
It's still under the same kind of auspices of I'm tired of anniversary issues. So no matter how great it is, it's meh.
Yeah, I didn't need it at all.
I dig them. I like them. I like little iconic overviews of these heroes. And I was like, Green Arrow, come on, it'll be all right.
Look, I love steak.
Yeah,
I love steak, but if I had it for every single meal every night, I would get tired of steak.
That's fair.
Are you only reading anniversary issues, Noel?
Yeah, you should not do that.
These are like every other week. Last week was the anthology. Well, it's anniversaries and anthologies. It's constant. It's constant $9.99 anthology books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yet no Lois Lane.
And no Lois Lane. I wonder if they would do a Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane, but with a biting kind of cynicism. Would be interesting to see her point of view from that era, and she's I know he's Superman.
I think you just pitched.
Can't prove
you just pitched Kelly Sue DeConnick's new book. Just
Sounds good.
Do it.
Sounds good. I didn't get the last story here. I was like, well, what the hell was that? He's going back to the island.
Well, the last Green Arrow story?
Yeah. Oh, the actual last story was amazing.
Oh, the actual last story, and I'm not going to spoil it for Noel because he said he hasn't read it yet.
I haven't finished that.
The actual last story in here is amazing and is maybe enough to be worth the. Don't go any further.
Yeah.
I read this online already. I read that online already.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Comic book Twitter was all a buzz about this, the Hornet Hornets and stuff. That was one of the first things I
that was awesome.
That
was awesome.
That's so beautiful.
Oh, I didn't notice the change in typography of the title at first. It's
you
advancing
didn't?
through. No, I guess I kind of breezed past that, but advancing through eras too.
Man,
cool.
when there's two panels here, this panel's the one that got me. At the beginning of the page, we've got old Denny with his wife, and he's putting up all of his little accolades, and they're watching Batman together. And then the next one is. He's on the couch by himself, and his wife is not there anymore.
Yeah.
But his accolades.
So
I didn't see that part. I was focused on the accolades.
All the things that he's watching, it's showing all of these things that he had a hand in or touched or was a part of is now crossing into other media. It's almost like he should professionally be happier than he ever has being out in the world and wider audience, but he's alone.
Yeah. I mean, that was very, very touching. The reason why that was even more touching for me is because before that, that's actually his second wife. He was married earlier. And if you go back, see that bubble right there with the heart?
Yeah.
That's when he meets her. But if you go back, I think one more page, it goes. That's where he that bottom panel is where he shows he broke up with his wife at that time.
Oh.
And this was written by his son, right?
Yeah, it's written by his son, who I think is like that was his mother. His first wife was his mother. Yeah,
very,
this is
very cool. Definitely the best thing in the book.
Yeah,
and you know why?
I like that it goes back to the hat. What's that one?
I like that it goes back to the hat. I like. There's two things about this. Maybe this is a product of it being in the Green Arrow book, that Green Arrow is holding his hand at the end and not Batman, because a lot of people associate him with Batman
for sure.
Neil Adams thing.
Yeah.
But as this story kind of points out, Green Arrow, what he did with Green Arrow came first, so it was really his move into DC, and bringing that aesthetic there. So I kind of like that it was Green Arrow there, kind of like rewriting that history a little bit.
Right? Started and ended. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But then the other thing that I like is that when he passed, as much as he was a part of DC, I always felt that DC had not done enough to give any flowers to him, because I remember immediately following, for almost a year, it seemed like every Marvel book there was that one page where they were highlighting Denny O'Neil's contribution to Marvel, and it was like in every freaking book. And there were some books where it started off like he maybe had like a little banner at the top, R.I.P. Denny or something like that, and I didn't remember seeing that level of appreciation from the Marvel from DC. So reading this made me say, okay, I'm with y'all. I wish this wasn't in the back of this 80-page thing. And this could have been its own release, and people would have bought it like hotcakes. But I'm just glad that it exists.
I want this to be so. I do not know how the Eisners necessarily works, but I want this to get attention. And if it's
this can get nominated,
but its inclusion in a anthology doesn't prevent it from, or
because it's a short. So
this is wonderful.
Len, what did he do for Marvel? I mostly know him as DC guy.
He did. Let's see. Well, he was primarily an editor there, because he's the one that got Frank Miller started with Daredevil.
Oh, okay.
But he did do some writing as well. Who did he do? Did he do Doctor Strange for a little bit? I can't remember. He was an editor for a long time, and he did did do some writing. But he was very instrumental over at Marvel as well. Yeah. Because I remember, matter of fact, because I think he played a part in the Transformers over at Marvel as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he played a part in actually like naming like a couple of them.
That's actually like Marvel created the names Optimus Prime, and like a lot of the backstory is way more Marvel than I had realized.
Oh yeah, there wasn't a backstory before Marvel.
Well, they're from two separate toy lines in Japan. Which is crazy. That's why Megatron is on a different scale. And they're both the heroes of their separate toy lines.
Until we need a villain.
Right.
So JD is taking care of little Kai guy. However, I think we could probably take this opportunity to remind people how to help support the show if you like what we're doing here. Brian, if you'd like to explain.
Well, I mean, these people who like or want to give us some money, go to patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo, and they'll walk you through the rest of it. And whatever you can give is greatly appreciated. And even if that's just saying that you like our show to other people, do those things.
If you can't contribute, that's totally fine. At the very least, comment, subscribe
at the least
on YouTube and YouTube.
If you just sit there watching
YouTube.com/CultPopGo or Facebook.com/CultPopPodcasts. Comment, subscribe. Tell us, send us an email. Let us know. Join us live on Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hi, buddy. He's in a new shirt. I wonder what happened.
Well, I'll tell you. Spoiler alert. He pooped. So
hey, B, just
blow out and it went straight up his back.
Hey,
I'm sorry to embarrass you on a live stream, my son.
That's all good. B, just to fill you in, Denny O'Neil, he did write for Doctor Strange over at Marvel. He did, and him along with Neil Adams did some work with X-Men over at Marvel as well. And before he came to DC, that's where he got the bulk of his writing, and then he went back to Marvel as primarily an editor, but he also did writing on Spider-Man over there as well, and returned to Doctor Strange.
Interesting. I bet that's some pretty good stuff.
And he wrote on Iron Man. He wrote, he was a regular script on Iron Man from 82 to 86, from Daredevil to 83 to 85, from Spider-Man in the 80s. Yeah, he did a lot of work over at Marvel. He was indeed a man worthy of the accolades that he received.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
Before we get into gutter talk, do you guys want to do 2 quick thunder rounds?
Sure. Thunder rounds.
I mean, every time JD mentions it, you get in there right away with thunder rounds. With me, it's just like, thunder rounds. Yeah,
thunder rounds.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I get it. I understand the hierarchy.
Good.
So 2 books came out this week that we're going to talk about. Actually, one of them might be a little bit of an extended thunder round because Brian and I both read this book.
Well, see, that's the real reason that I didn't get on there was because I was like, Noel and I are going to talk about this title.
So it's a thunder and lightning round. We'll be very quick. Barbaric, written by Michael Morrissey and art by Nathan Gooden. I don't have the solicitation in hand, but that's okay.
I do.
You want to read it for us real quick?
Owen the Barbarian has been cursed to do good with what remains of his life. His bloodthirsty weapon, axe, has become his moral compass with a drinking problem. Together they wander the realm, foredoomed to help any who seek assistance. But there is one thing Owen hates more than a life with rules: witches. Welcome to the skull-cracking, blood-splattering, mayhem-loving comic brave enough to ask, how can a man sworn to do good do so much violence? Ha! Fucking with you. It's just barbaric.
This book was it was a parody that was taken seriously. It's metal. It's great. His enchanted axe talks to him and wants to get drunk on blood constantly. And he's only allowed to do violence on those that are bad, even though he hates having to do that. Why can't I just kill people?
Yeah, he used to live a simple life of barbarianism and sleeping with women and drinking and killing people. And he wasn't a bad dude by his standards, but he would kill people. He wasn't evil, I should say, and turn to the side of good. He was just kind of I'd do whatever the fuck
chaos. Yeah,
right, exactly. Yeah.
The way that this, first of all, the art is fantastic. The way that it's written is almost like parody because it's a lot of present day kind of slang, but it's not. Yeah. His name is Owen.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It's right there.
There's so much there's so much modern storytelling in this very crazy metal barbaric kind of thing. It's got shades of Daniel Warren Johnson. It's got shades of Conan. It's just it's nasty, but it's so funny. I was so shocked by how fun this book was. I want it on my list and I want to keep reading it. It was so incredibly good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and also his axe has this face on one side and he talks to it about our introduction is they're in a gladiatorial ring and there's 3 people and 2 of them did really bad stuff. And one of them stole something to do something.
Stole some bread to eat. Right.
To eat. Yeah. And he was, and so he's talking to the axe and nobody else can hear the axe. So he just looks like he's conversing with his axe, and he's like, "All right, I'll kill those 2, but not the other one. If you leave,
he has to ask. He asks the magical axe, "Am I allowed to kill these assholes?" He's like, this one and this one, you did the thing. He's not really that bad. You can't. And like, it's but in self-defense, it's, maybe you can.
Yeah, like if somebody's attacking him, so he's like, if you don't attack me, I won't kill you. And he's like, all right.
It's this whole hilarious, it's a hilarious scenario of bargaining between a, demonic-looking axe that just wants to drink blood. And then also, too, like, after he kills a handful of people, the axe is drunk.
Right,
and it's hiccuping and just like, I'm surely fine. It's cool. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
It's a dumb book, and it's just it's the right kind of dumb.
He winds up like what looks like the path will be. He meets this witch, and she's kind of like what was it, the tattooed man in DC Comics, where she can like pull her tattoos up.
She's got tattoos of weapons, and she just like pulls a knife out of her shoulder or a dagger. Like, this is a cool fucking book.
Fun.
It's like all great ideas. Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. Yeah.
I wish we were able to find a copy. Yeah, I wasn't able to find a copy in time for all of us to be able to read it, but just like happenstance, I know Brian and I read it, so it's like we have to just let people know this book is on the radar.
Yeah, it's cool.
Because Vault Comics don't really Vault doesn't have that big of like a promotion machine.
Right? They're already sold out of their first. Sorry, I thought you said that big of a print run. Yeah.
Well, no, it didn't have that big of a print run because Vault Comics is not one of the big two, or it's not a big image push from a bunch of huge name
but they're on
creators.
to another printing, I believe.
Yeah, everyone picked this up. It's wonderful. Support crazy fun books like this as opposed to something that sucks.
Things that aren't fun.
Things that are garbage.
Yeah, things you don't like, just drop them.
Wasn't there another book that y'all wanted to do a Thunder Round on?
I think JD maybe wanted to do Buffy, or we'll just skip it. What do you think, buddy? Skip it.
Oh, well, he's skipping that. Well, let me do a quick Thunder Round, or Thunder Round-ish thing, if I may. And this is a comic book that I'm upset that I read, but I read it.
Yes, I have a guess.
I read it, and hey, there you go. And it is a comic book that is from the publisher that we all know as Archie. And
I got 5 pages in.
The Mighty Crusaders #1, The Shield by Rob Liefeld, written and drawn by Rob Liefeld, with a script by David Gallagher, and lettering by Jack Morelli. Solicitation says Rob Liefeld is drawing comics like it's 1985, and oh boy, this was a hot piece of garbage. This was, who keeps cutting checks to Rob Liefeld for comics? If you look at that cover, ladies and gentlemen, that is page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of this book, because that same pose, those same clenched fists are on.
Wait, what happened to her proportion? Like,
I'm telling you, this is a hot piece.
Wait, those are
of garbage.
So that's the page I got to. Go back one page. That's the page I got to, and I was like, did Howard Chaykin ink Rob Liefeld? Like, what the fuck just happened here?
Also,
and then I left.
A stone?
I guess he's in a stone chair. You know what though? His feet are properly proportioned.
That's true.
But it sucks that he has oven mitts for hands.
His feet are properly proportioned, but his legs are too short. Like, this is bad art.
Take away the chair, and he's doing a solid squat.
It kind of looks like he is not sitting on that chair anyway. Honestly, he's not. He's squatting. Now, art aside,
listen, they sold him the whole seat. He only needed the edge.
I was gonna say he's only at the edge of the seat, right? Because there's nothing in between his legs.
And who sits with their fists clenched? The fists are never. There are no fingers in this book. It's only clenched.
Wait, you're right. There is not a single open hand. There's not.
Wait, there's one.
He's throwing
the
somebody.
The bad guy's like, ah.
Yeah. He had his fist ripped apart.
But mind you, that scene is supposed to be taking place in an apartment. It is supposed to be taking place in an apartment. No, exactly. It's supposed to be in the middle of an apartment.
There's no backgrounds.
Period. There's absolutely no background. God, this is a piece of garbage, man. And I read it honestly because I was like, okay, I haven't read a Rob Liefeld book in years. Let me give him the benefit of a doubt. Let me see, maybe. And I was like, no, this is garbage. This is such a waste of time and money. And what the who is this munchkin that is next to Giganta?
Well, that's Dusty Simmons, former boy detective, current Crusaders liaison. Len, how did you know?
Can you go back a couple pages? There was like that one.
The signed splash page.
Yeah, the signed splash page that looks nothing like the rest of the book.
Yeah,
exactly. With the rips in the supposed to be indestructible armor that.
That's
of course,
a fucking
totally
disappear
next
page.
Exactly. Of course, it's not.
Different art
that
style.
is that's a cover variant. That's exactly what that is.
So the story of behind this book is more interesting than the book itself. Like, they were Archie Comics wants to get back in superhero books. They got Rob Liefeld to kind of be a liaison and to essentially do like one book and maybe like another one shot. And he got this co-writer Gallagher.
Gallagher. That's a buddy of mine, David Gallagher of the Only Living Boy or Last Living Boy.
Oh,
yeah.
He's a really nice guy, and he's got a creator-owned series. I didn't realize that he even worked on this until you just said it just now.
So
go get your boy.
Either he, or I mean, I was going to say this is probably an excellent opportunity for him. Either he or one of the other artists, penciler or colorist or something, a month or two ago tweeted out one of the variant covers for this book. It was approved by Archie Comics and everybody that this is a variant cover, shared for promotion purposes. Rob Liefeld didn't like that because it showed old man Ben Higgins or whoever the fuck this is.
Yeah, because I think the variants are at the end of the book.
It showed the old man one, the future version or something.
Okay.
It was a promotional
on the
material.
First page of this issue.
It was a promotional material that pretty much showed the very first page.
Who gives a shit?
He freaked the fuck out like a little tantrum baby boy about how they ruined the integrity of his story, and he quit. So he quit Archie Comics and didn't want to finish it because they showed that. Didn't want to finish. You're hurting small businesses. You ruined my story. You ruined all the surprises. Meanwhile, all of us are like, it's the same story you've told 4,000 times.
Exactly.
Cable.
Yeah. And he made a big stink and tantrumed and gave the check, cashed the check and left and isn't going to do anything else for this series. So not only is he a shit storyteller, he's also just a bit of a baby.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's not news.
It's still
he's been a baby since the 90s when he was literally a baby.
30 years of baby.
Him having a conniption fit is probably the best thing that could have happened to this series.
Yeah.
Because I like the comment. I was like, oh, the comment's one of these. That's cool. I always thought he was cool. But let's talk about the writing for a second. I was like, at the end of it, I'm like, it's done? But simultaneously like, oh, good, I'm done with it. But it felt like nothing much happened.
Nothing.
And then you were
happened.
done. Right? When you said 5 pages in, I'm like, was it more than 5 pages?
So this Gallagher gentleman was probably just hired to try and make sense of a loose-ass plot, right? Marvel style. Here's this. These people are this. This is their names. We're going to do this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I don't blame him at
right?
all. I imagine that Rob Liefeld is, had already pretty much done it. And David Gallagher scripted this. The scripting is not bad. Like the pacing and the things that, you know what I mean? The story is like nothing occurs.
Some of the poses and some of the pieces are like not bad. but just in the context of how limited it is when you compare it to like every other page, it's so obvious. You know, like there was an action page a couple pages back. They were just like, no, that was a pretty decent pose, and that was very engaging. Now before that,
I mean, he's not a bad drawer.
This one,
like he's way better than many human beings.
That still doesn't mean he's not a bad drawer. He's a bad drawer. He's a bad artist. He is.
All right.
Yeah, I put this in. I did put this, like, included it as like a, hey, maybe it'll be fun to talk about this failed experiment.
Well, I'm hoping
apparently you said apparently he's going full Comicsgate soon.
Yes and no. So like he flirts with it. I mean, if anything, he's an excellent opportunist, right?
Yes.
So he doesn't speak against it. He doesn't speak for it, but he constantly likes the shit on Facebook or likes the shit on Twitter and agrees with a bunch of things. And yeah, I can't wait. And you betcha, like,
that's because he's running out of places to go, man. He's running out of places for a check. So
he flirts hard. It's just a matter of time before he fully embraces. Well, the rest of the industry just kind of gets tired of his little tantrum bullshit.
Yeah, I mean it's where professionals
go to die,
who have burned all their bridges wind up. Comicsgate. Yeah, I think the thing you had showed me was like someone had tweeted to him like, stupid SJWs, how come we can't just good action with sexy women, stupid SJWs pushing their agenda? And he gave it he retweeted it with like fist bumps and stuff.
Yeah, he's just, I think he's just, again, if he's great at anything, it's selling himself. I think he's just planting seeds for when he eventually does, or if he's going to have to.
Yeah.
And Luke, I've always been with you. He doesn't care.
This thing that happened with this comic book, even that at the time seemed like he just didn't want to do the book for any other reason, and so he just made up that reason to be like, I quit. How dare you? It was such a loose reason.
I don't understand why is he that much of a draw? Why do people keep giving him work?
There are people out there that think he is legitimately good.
Yeah. That, and he is legitimately still a name to the average person who, if you're getting a meeting with Rob Liefeld, he comes in there, I did Gap commercials and all this type of stuff. My comics have sold X amount of money, have been licensed in TV and shit like that. He's a name to the average person that don't really know about superheroes, and they just want to have some window, some connection into that world.
And he's still bragging about, like, I think, what was it? He's got the second highest selling Marvel comic or something. And
and he can say I created Deadpool. Now everybody knows Deadpool now, so he's
Also, this probably sold because it had his name on it. Like that. Yeah. That's what it comes down to. Is like they look at past things that have sold, and he's still in it. And as long as he is, he'll get the next book too.
It's a shame. Overall, it's a shame because I don't like, even in his heyday, I always found him to be edgy bullshit. I was never a fan.
Me neither. Agreed.
What did he do for Image? What was his?
It was Youngbloods.
Youngblood. Blood something. Blood Sport.
Blood Strike.
And then Blood, right? He was the creator of Blood.
I think it's Donny Cates as The Paybacks. There's a character called Blood Pouch, and he's just got tons and tons of pouches on his like weird Shatterstar headgear thing. Yeah, it's very funny.
Did he work? Was he on the Chris Claremont X-Men years? Was he after?
No, that's Jim Lee was.
Was it?
Yeah, he was after that.
Okay.
I belong to a Facebook group called Comic Swipes. And it's basically just, here's a panel from this book. It is almost a tracing of this other panel from another book from another artist. And Rob Liefeld is all over that, man. He just traces or copies panels willy-nilly.
Really? Because his art is so atrocious. I can't pick to like where he. It's a snake
eating its own tail. He swipes himself constantly.
See that I would believe 100%. Yes.
He had 2 or 3 partially original ideas 30 years ago, and he constantly keeps swiping his own shit.
Well, I was going to say
he never draws backgrounds, and he's got 4 poses, and he just keeps doing it.
Because I was going to say that old man shield that we showed, I wouldn't, not believe that he copied his old bullshit Captain America art for that.
Or I mean, that's Cable.
Yeah.
Like he just took Cable and changed
and
changed his outfit and gave him a beard.
You're right.
Yeah.
I forgot about Cable. Yeah.
I don't like. Also, the eyes were glowing, so he probably just added one glowing eye. Like fuck this.
And Cable had two like guns, right? Like that was part of his signature look. Yeah.
Now you think about that. Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, we can have a segment every.
Let me see. Oh wow! Wow.
The one that's not Green Lantern is the Rob Liefeld.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's copying Kevin McGuire.
Yeah.
Thus, why that face looks halfway decent.
I like the idea that everything good about Rob Liefeld doesn't belong to him. Oh wait,
Wow.
That's nothing.
Wow.
So this was the shit on Rob Liefeld section of the show.
Yeah,
tune in next week while we find something else to bitch about because there's plenty. We'll touch base on his social media every week and just get angry about it because he's an asshole.
End of round.
Should we do some gutter talk?
Let's do it.
Gutter talk.
I mean, do we have an introduction for gutter talk?
No.
We're gonna do gutter talk now.
That's as good as any for me. Yes.
All right. So the first topic we have on hand is, hey, are event comics out of ideas? So we're in the middle. I mean, the easy answer is
take out
our
a
event
bit
comics,
and
Rob Liefeld.
yeah. So what precipitated this conversation is the fact that
we just got finished reading Heroes Reborn.
Heroes Reborn, yeah.
Right.
And also too, like reprints of the original Heroes Reborn now are saying the original epic. Like they Heroes Reborn, the original epic. Like so that just, precipitates the larger conversation of we're in this era now where they're recycling.
God, that was horrible.
Heroes
they're
Reborn?
recycling names, and there was like Heroes Reborn. What was the other one?
Inferno.
And also too, these stories for the most part they're not actually connected. I think Secret Empire was a redo. Secret Wars was a redo.
Secret
like
Wars, Clone Saga,
like there is in the currently doing that right now. At DC, there is always Word Crisis. Like we're in this era where it's all rehashing. Is that a good or a bad thing? And or do you care? So who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Judy.
Go ahead, Brian.
I think it's fine. I think, especially for like Heroes Reborn and Inferno, which have nothing to do with the originals, it's just like a wink and a nod. It's fine. If you know about the old one, then you can be like, hey, cool. And if you don't know about the old one, then it doesn't matter at all. Like this applied. But something like Secret Wars, I did kind of feel more like, give it a different title. This is not why is this one also called Secret Wars? That was strange. Or the Clone Saga makes sense. That there are Clone Saga-ish things happening in Miles Morales, So if they want to say, hey, like, we're doing another Clone Saga, I'm down with that. The story seems different, although I haven't read other than the one that we read. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's totally fine. I don't think it's a symptom of being out of ideas. I think it's just a fun reuse of those things in most cases.
Heroes Reborn has nothing to do with the title Heroes Reborn. The previous event that we just read, where the Justice League is, the Squadron Supreme takes center stage because the Avengers never happened. Nothing with heroes being reborn. It's that stuff like that frustrates me. And this has been a thing that's been going on in film for the past 5-10 years as well. We've got a Halloween sequel, Halloween 2018. It's going to call it Halloween. It's not a remake. It is a sequel to Halloween called Halloween. That stuff drives me nuts. It feels like it's just there to purposefully confuse the consumer, the person who's there to check it out. Because like, oh, well, if they haven't seen Halloween 1, maybe they won't go see Halloween 2. And well, it's a sequel, so why see that? It drives me nuts. As a retailer, it's frustrating. As a reader, it's frustrating. As someone who has to catalog comic books, it's frustrating. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like things need their different titles, or volume 2. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just, I hate it. I can't stand it.
Len, do you have thoughts?
No. No, I honestly to me, comic books, like we say, are event comics out of ideas. You could take out event and put comic books out of ideas. Like they constantly recycle things, right? But I have resigned myself to the fact that in their constant recycling of things is one, they're trying to recycle for, or at least in my mind, I've talked myself into believing that they're trying to recycle for the next generation, right? So while we may have the member berries of Secret Wars of our youth, there is another generation for whom they will have a different Secret Wars. Just like the Batman that I grew up loving is not the Batman that some 20-year-old or some 10-year-old is going to love right now, right? Yeah. Even though it's the same Batman and ostensibly the same character, right? So it doesn't really bother me. Sometimes if you do use a title or a concept over, if you do something different with it, sometimes you can make it better. I personally think that what they did this time around with Secret Wars is superior to what the original Secret Wars was all about. I thought Secret Wars was a bad name for what happened.
For the original one.
Right. So it actually is better suited for what happened. So I'm with that. Whereas to what JD said, the original Heroes Reborn, I think was a failed experiment and a big cash grab at best. So at least this one is at least a bit more story driven. Now you can argue whether or not one is better than the other, but they tried to do something with it. It doesn't really bother me that much. It's something that has happened in media for decades, since the beginning of radio and movies and books and television. Stories, it happens.
Fairy tales.
Right.
Right.
So it don't bother me.
Frustrating and very real retailer issues aside, which, I'm more inclined to agree with Brian. I think it's like our perspective is knowing the reference, but it's since they've almost always been kind of their own thing, it doesn't really bother me yet. However, when I'm like putting them on the shelves next to each other, it's weird if I've got to like catalog one or the other or explain the connection that doesn't exist. I get it. But I kind of like the idea of really, really good remakes or really, really good cover songs or doing your own thing with this one piece of memorabilia or nostalgia, right? So like this Inferno, much like the Secret Wars, the difference between the two, and also too, it's Hickman. I'm pretty sure he's not going to do anything near the original thing, right? He's going to take it more literally or something completely different, not hell on earth literally like the original miniseries or the original crossover event. I don't know. Like I'm more inclined to agree with Brian. Like, use it all, do something different. Great. Nothing is sacred. Just tell me a good story. We're fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that cataloging though is a point that I hadn't thought of in both of your cases. Then, that is an issue.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that for JD explicitly, that's probably frustrating as shit. Yeah. I mean, let's not even get into how events are solicited and all of the like extra add-ons and things, and you have to like explain to your subscribers, like, okay, do you just want the main event? Do you want the tie-ins? Do you want explicit tie-ins? Do you want to hold off on this? Do you just want the first issue of all the tie-ins. Like that's a clusterfuck. I'm with you on that. Like what was it? A conversation not too long ago that event books should just be in title and that's it. Just be in the title. Yeah. But you know,
that's first world problems.
Whatever. It really is. Yeah. But I thought it was pretty interesting, and it's mostly, I guess, the aggressor is mostly Marvel these days. DC just has that one heavy note of Crisis that they play every 3 to 5 years.
In some ways, I feel like Crisis works. The number 52 didn't. I feel like they tried to manufacture a thing for DC with the number 52, whereas Crisis is like in their fabric. And so when I see Crisis, I'm like, oh, all right. As long as it's not too much, but I haven't hit that point. And the new multiverse thing is not called it, but it does hint at a Crisis later.
Yeah.
Wasn't there also a trial of Magneto?
Yes.
Before?
Oh, was there?
Yes.
Oh, right. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. Which leads into another topic of ours.
It does lead into another topic. Are we going full spoilers? Yeah, we are,
sure.
Right?
I mean, nobody seems to care.
So, Wanda Maximoff was straight up murked and killed in X Factor number 10 this week.
Who's Wanda Maximoff?
I'm sorry, the Scarlet Witch. The Scarlet Witch was murdered in comics this week. And aside from obviously we're on social media, comics groups and blah blah blah. But besides like very acute news sources, no one's talking about it, and no one seems to give a shit.
Yeah, that's true. Even like regular news might have, there was just a big series. Yeah.
Very popular character for the most part outside of comic books, and no one blipped. There was no like spoiler press release.
Right.
So, I mean, the question being, since no one seemed to care, are we just know behind the curtain too much? We're just jaded as are we just jaded as readers or consumers? Like, yeah, she's dead now. That's fine.
Yes.
But it'll be cool in a second. Now, the death of Doctor Strange is coming.
Did he know?
So yes, the short answer is we know. Peek behind the sausage. We know that they're all coming back in some way, shape, or form. That's fine. Does it matter? Because for the most part, I'm just down for a good journey. I know that she's not really dead or not going to stay dead. What do you guys think? Let's talk. Fuck comics. What's up?
It don't matter because, like you said, it's all about the story. It's all about whether or not the story was well told, well done, and therefore, and her passing, it's the significance of that to the story. That's all that really matters.
Yeah. Like the characters don't know.
Right.
Yeah. That's a great point.
Even though I'll be honest, they say the characters don't know, but somewhere one of the characters is going to be like, well, she'll be back on Wednesday because we all come back. You know,
there was that. You remember when Martian Manhunter died, and I think it was in Final Crisis, and somebody was like, "We pray for a resurrection," like that. And,
right.
And later he did when he was resurrected.
This is serious. Look. Yeah. If Damian Wayne can come back from the dead, Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, should be able to cross the river Styx and be like, yo, just in time for Jeopardy. So I'm sorry. I'm not going to sweat that. You know what I mean? But as long as the story is well done and well told, it's fine. I don't think this gets the big props because one, let's face it, the general public has got attuned to comic speak now. They know about, snaps and like, oh, snap again, you're back, So that's already in their lexicon. And they've been burned a couple of times by these faux news releases like, oh my God, I'm thinking about when they put out this big press release because Johnny Storm died early in Hickman's Fantastic Four run. And it was like this big thing. And I remember like reading the book and it's emotional and it looks good and it's well rendered. but I knew he was going to be back, and he was back. Was back very soon. So, but they got burned. It was like a big thing. So,
and they don't care that much either. Like they're like, oh, that's interesting, but I think it's a really good point, Len. When like they've gotten burned, they've seen these articles before, and then like that doesn't seem to be the case.
Right.
These are not regular comics readers. They don't really care.
Yeah.
And so like the fifth time that some character dies in a headline, you're like, well, who gives a shit?
Yeah, is it a box that they just checked way too many times and we got to put it to rest for a bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if they let it last longer, like with Superman, I feel like he was dead for a while.
Yeah.
And we got a lot. We mined that for a while, and we had all of the other Superman, the Reign of the Superman, and World Without Superman, and it was a big deal, and it went on for quite a while, and I really enjoyed a lot of those stories. And now, I think there's been a couple of times, and not even in recent history anymore. It used to be recent history, and now it's like
wasn't at all.
Batman. When Batman died and Dick took over, I think a lot of us are like, "Oh, Batman's back already!" Like we still had some more that we could do with Dick Grayson.
It was like 6 months. It was only like 6 months.
One thing I liked about that is
like
that they showed us, like in the issue where he seemed to die, all of the characters thought that he died, but we knew that he didn't, and I liked that. I was like,
it was the end of the series.
You're not pretending that he's actually dead.
It was the end of Final Crisis, so it was like maybe 2 or 3 issues later they showed him in a cave. Wolverine stayed dead for like 5 years, 5 or 6 years. However, they told Wolverine stories by like inserting other people into his title, right? Like the Old Man Logan of it all, and the so like I thought that was actually a pretty slick way of having your cake and eating it too. Yeah, like let's create something else without like negating this death immediately. Same with Captain America. He was dead for couple of years because that book was monthly. It was like 25 issues of
he was there for about
monthly title. It was like two years or so.
Yeah. I wonder if that was longer than they intended, like the Death of Superman, because that was very popular, and I wonder if they were like, let's keep it going. I have no idea. I think also the Scarlet Witch, when I first heard the news, I was like, well, is this how they make her a mutant again? Was my first thought. Was not like, oh, she's dead. It's like, oh, Disney now owns Fox, so she can be a mutant. There's no legal trouble with that. Are they going to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw speculation about that too. This is just a status quo change, not a death.
That would be my guess.
How'd she die? That's the mystery. That's the trial. So at the end of the gala, the Hellfire Gala, a couple of different issues. I think it was in Sword and it was also in X Factor or something. She was invited to the gala. And she came late, and she had this great conversation with Magneto. No one else was around, where he just kind of, told her all the things that were weighing on his heart, that he knows you're not really my daughter. I know you're not really my daughter, but I'll always consider you a daughter, and I love you, and I'm sorry that we've become... Like, it was very sweet, and they had a dance together and stuff, but no one else was around, and then they find her body. And the first thing that, I think someone says is, where's Magneto? Yeah. Because
that sounds interesting.
He's been presenting constantly as she is the pretender. She is a villain. She is she is responsible for genocide. Which
is this fridging?
No, I wouldn't say that.
I don't think so.
Is this getting rid of a female character in order to focus on the repercussions towards a male character?
Taken alone, maybe, but in the larger context of him, well, maybe.
I don't.
We'll see how the story plays out, but it's a legitimate thing that could happen. Like they have much history.
It just occurs to me, it's like, because my thought was, the death wasn't really the story. The trial of Magneto is the story because he's being falsely accused for, I assume.
Does fridging
which sounds a little bit like fridging.
Does fridging have to... I could be wrong. But isn't fridging a thing, or it's more egregious when it's a character that only exists to suffer the plot?
That's
Like,
worse. Yeah.
Right.
That's worse, but
I
that's not.
introduced the girlfriend. I introduced the girlfriend like 1 issue ago, and now she's been killed.
Yeah, that's worse, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like that.
But this also builds out of like a lot of existing X-Men continuity and is a valid way for the story to progress. Like there's a lot of people on that island that hate her. She is like this monster in their eyes.
She's already in solicitations for she's already like in solicitations for stuff coming out in September.
And she's going to be in Doctor Strange movie. Like she's not going to be dead for that long. But
the Darkhold miniseries, she's like a big part of it.
And I actually think maybe it is a way of maybe kind of like retconning or re-retconning her into a mutant. But I also think unretconning, right?
Just conning.
But I think actually more to the point is this is their way of sliding her in the comics closer, if not even more so, all the way over to the dark side, to the villainous side, because she's going to be played closer to in that way in the cinematic universe.
Oh, you think so?
Yes, I do.
Oh, interesting.
Either way, I'd like as a reader, I'm more interested in this story now as to how they're like. I'm more interested in reading the trial of Magneto to see how they reconcile all this, because from that character's perspective, he had turned a page and now it's too late. And then, he's a man that would literally move the earth for something he wants and or terraform an entire planet. So if he just made peace with his daughter, how would he react to not only her murder, but being accused of it? So yes, in that regards, thematically, it's fridging, but I think it's going to result in her being back in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know if it's fridging.
I mean, because all the mutants are coming back. Like that's a lot of the point of this Krakoa story.
The argument, though, is that she's not a mutant.
Right, but if she comes back, you know what I mean? Yeah. That in one fell swoop, she's back and she's a mutant.
I just thought it was mildly fascinating that this character that is currently in the popular culture lexicon was murdered and no one has said shit.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah.
The very last thing that we'll talk about super briefly. Oh, did I get on mute? Oh, sorry.
No, I hear you.
Yeah. I heard you ask that question.
See, at least this one.
I can't hear anyone.
The last Annihilation is coming.
Oh, the last one?
Oh, see, that's another one too.
But at least that's called The Last Annihilation. It's not just called Annihilation.
Oh, I'm excited about that. I love the Annihilation stuff.
I think it's already started. Like it officially started this week.
Oh.
X-Men Onslaught.
Yeah. Yeah. They're member Barry rehashing all this shit.
God damn it.
But in title only, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy 15 that came out almost 2 weeks ago. The Last Annihilation, the big bad, is Dormammu.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, supernatural space.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm sorry, I was flipping through the book. Say that again. What was Dormammu?
He's the big bad of The Last Annihilation.
Oh, The Last Annihilation. Oh, that's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like taking two things, peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah. You guys say Dormammu? I always said Dormammu.
No, you're wrong. It's Dormammu.
Whatever Strange says.
I bet you said Darkseid.
No, that one I didn't say, but my last name has that going on. But I pronounced it Magneto for many years. I mean, why wouldn't you?
It's like some people say Saga instead of Saga, which I don't understand.
That's a word, though. That's an existing word.
Saga
is. But I mean,
but
do people say that just for the title of the comic, or they use the word, they pronounce it Saga?
Yes.
Both of those things?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Saga.
Anyway.
Well, things change.
Really quickly, I want to talk about Spider-Man. So he's about to be not rebooted, but a new continuity shift again at issue 75. And it's a lot of Spider-Man. So they seem to be doing Brand New Day again. It's a whole like brain trust of writers and artists. It's going to be shipping 3 times a month. And Ben Reilly is going to be the primary Spider-Man. We don't know how or why. So I ended up dropping off of Spider-Man about a year ago at this point because it was just too much. It was bi-weekly and there were tie-ins. So there was like some months where I'd have 5 Spider-Man issues and they just piled up. So now when I hear like, hey, we're coming back and we're coming back stronger with 3 times a month, I recoil because like, if anything, I wanted more quality, not quantity.
Mm-hmm.
So why? Like, I like to read other things and not just Spider-Man. So for people that only have like a pull list of 2 books, this is awesome. But what do you guys think? Is this like a great move or is this kind of like a JD?
It's not for me.
As the resident Spider guy, with the resident Spider Kai, it's oversaturation. It's just too much. I felt that way about Nick Spencer's run currently. There's too much going on. There's too many double-sized issues for no reason. The Chameleon Conspiracy #1 just came out, which is the last issue of the Chameleon Conspiracy storyline, which is actually the first time in this Amazing Spider-Man run by Nick Spencer that I was just like, that was useless. That was awful.
He did it for King's Ransom also, right? Like you got an arc
King's
and
Ransom
then a giant size #1 and a giant size #1.
That was like
finale.
a month and a half ago. Yeah.
It's like Heroes Return. Like what's with Marvel doing #1s as the final
Well,
of
they
their
sell.
arc? Because they're #1. Yeah.
Because they confuse the audience into buying a #1 issue to find out, oh, this is part 8.
Yeah. But if enough of them then go back to get parts 1 through 7, it's even better for Marvel, and they are rewarded for this confusion.
I just think it's frustrating for me as a reader and as a consumer. It's okay. Twofold. One, I'm ready for Nick Spencer to be done, even though I've enjoyed 75% of his run. Then I'm excited because Kelly Thompson is one of the writers.
Yeah,
Patrick Gleason's going.
Yeah. Kelly Thompson, Patrick Gleason, Sarah Pichelli, Zeb Wells, someone else that a writer that I'd never heard of, but apparently he's done tons and tons of animated work and like all the shows that you've heard of and you love is like jumping into comics. So like the creative team they have collected is, I mean, any one of that small group, I'd be like fascinated to give it a shot.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of shots.
Yeah.
3 issues a month, man. Knock it off. Stop
and
it.
Then how sustainable is it though? If you like, I'm here for Patrick Gleason.
Yeah.
He's probably going to have 1 month of Patrick Gleason and then 6 months or 18 issues of other people taking over the book. And like, there's going to be it's going to be loose continuity of art and style.
And we've already reached in Amazing Spider-Man and Nick Spencer's run. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel. The last couple of issues have looked awful. They are not professional flagship Marvel title artwork.
But the art is another thing. It's one story that will switch writers and artists every issue, and then
I don't know. I really do imagine it's going to be like Brand New Day, where they have enough of a lead in to where it'll be arc at a time, and maybe a couple of fill-ins, and arc at a time, and a couple of fill-ins. However, all of the artists that they've announced so far are not fast. So
maybe they've been working on it already.
Because but also too, because even in Brand New Day, there was a lot of like, they would swap the order of arcs sometimes to give other artists more time with their lead-ins. So it was a kind of a mishmash. I remember reading, that was the one time I was actually pulling Amazing Spider-Man for a long period of time. There would be giant chunks of like awesome, and then you'd have like 2 or 3 months of just like, that was fine. Okay. I guess that's cool. And then it was really peaks and valleys, like hardcore.
And it was weekly at the time, wasn't it?
No, it was 3 times a month.
I was saying
they made the joke. They made the joke of like 52 was weekly. You're making Spider-Man weekly? And I think David Wacker, the editor at the time was like, no, we do Spider-Man strongly, not weekly.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But I'll tell you, that's when I dropped it. Like, I love Spider-Man, not up at JD's levels, but he's like absolutely one of my top Marvel guys, and he's great. And I always enjoy reading Spider-Man. And when it first went 3 times a month, that truly would be too much. But when it first went 3 times a month, I just stopped reading them. Like, and I was surprised at myself. It was like, yeah. And I was like, well, I love this character. Why wouldn't I love reading it every week? And I would even do that with different story. Like different Superman stories come out almost every week, and I don't feel that same thing. I may like Superman a little bit more, but I think it's more that they're different stories. For some reason, just having that 3 times a week was just too much. Maybe sort of similar to how text in comics is too much. I love reading books, but when there's a lot of text in a comic, that's not what I'm there for. I don't know.
Well, I think it's also like
my thing with Spider-Man would be, is that, and I like Spider-Man, but I've never been a big collector of Spider-Man. But the reason is because, to me, the best Spider-Man and even good Spider-Man still only lends itself to a certain type of storytelling. You know what I mean? Like with Batman, and not to cape up for my guy or anything like that, but you could put Batman in a detective story. You can put him in a mystery. You can put him in a horror.
True.
You can, I don't know how well by himself he works in like an intergalactic thing, but you could kind of like mess around with him. Spider-Man kind of, I think, is maybe a little bit limited in that space on his own. Yes, you can team him up with people and he'll fit as the person, kind of like, fish out of water in like a supernatural thing or a space type of thing. But those are still going to be few and far between. And if you're talking about 3 Spider-Man stories a month, that's 3 kind of like of the same freaking story.
That's not counting Miles Morales Spider-Man,
right?
Web of Spider-Man,
Untold Tales of Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Like it's reached Batman's saturation point. But I think like that's a really, really good point that I never really considered. I mean, as potent and robust a character as Spider-Man is, he is relatively one note. Whereas like the versatility of the character and where you can place him is very, very, it's much more limited because of his perspective of everyman. Whereas other characters, you can maybe like cross genres with them and flex them in different ways that might loosen it up or give you more space.
Like, but when does he ever do genius type stories?
They tried to play with that for a little bit. They did.
That was awesome.
And that was cool.
Really cool.
You think it was superior?
Yeah.
Dan Slott, big time. I thought it actually like moved Peter forward in a reasonable way.
Yes.
That he would be the next Tony Stark.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
Right.
He would not be, let me take pictures of myself for the newspaper.
It worked in high school.
Right.
Yeah.
But then they backtracked.
Well, I was going to say, like, I mean, that was Dan Slott's intention the entire time. Like in interviews, he would say, I'm going to take all of this stuff to a logical conclusion, and Peter Parker would be able to accomplish X, Y, and Z. But we all know that he can't attain it because what makes Spider-Man the right character is that he's Parker Luck. So like they built him up explicitly to tear him down because the flexibility or the versatility of the character has to be limited for it to work.
Yeah. I thought him as a teacher worked pretty
That's the impression.
Right.
And it wasn't well received from what I could tell. Like most people were like, but I would just read Iron Man.
Right.
Him as a teacher, they made him successful, which was great. They made him a successful teacher, but he had to remain broke.
That's the thing, which is like, I could see him doing that.
Yeah.
Where he's like, all right, I will give up possibly being a billionaire because this is good work too, outside of being Spider-Man.
Yeah, making him a teacher makes sense.
Yeah.
Then
it brings it back to high school, which was
also
part of his story.
The way that like all of that Parker Industries stuff was like kind of taken away was so martyr-ish and weird. Like I think he had to tank his own company in order to protect either his identity or like
he even
someone
had
else's.
to fight. I believe he had to fight Doc Ock, who was taking over Parker Industries and was going to make it Auto Industries the entire time. Like Dan Slott even did a cool thing where Doc Ock was behind so much of it that even the Parker Industries logo, when something happened, it became like an auto logo somehow. I forget how, but yeah, it was like he was planning on taking over the industries, and that's why he had to dismantle the thing and make himself look awful to everybody. Is because if Doc Ock had control of the company, then it would be, evil.
And I can't, because it was so, and this was probably my problem with like Dan Slott's run after so many years. He bundled himself into such a like narrative ball that I couldn't help but think like, oh, so like the millions or the thousands of people that work for you and the millions of dollars in investors, like fuck them all. I got to keep this secret. Like it was just so not Spider-Man at the time. It was like he would figure. It was weird. They added so many layers that there was no way to get out unscathed without it feeling like, okay, Spider-Man, I guess.
That's why he was hated. Like people hated Peter for a while.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I'm on the fence. I'm super interested in seeing what maybe the first arc is like for this new Spider-Man Beyond era. But I am so wildly apprehensive about the publishing schedule and the teams involved and what it's actually, how sustainable it is. Whether that's, I mean, I think that they can get a book out, but how sustainable it is as far as interest goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because people did get sick of Brand New Day too.
I mean, I've never gone back to being a regular Spider-Man reader. And sometimes I miss it. I'll see the Spider-Man comic and I'm like, Peter, what are you up to? But I just have never gotten back to it.
Peter. Well, now it'll be, Ben, what are you up to?
Which I also want to know.
Yeah. But, all right,
Speaking
guys.
of what people are up to, before we get out of here, I just want all of y'all out there who are watching the show or listening to it on the podcast whenever this gets posted back in 2022, I want you all to check out on YouTube, if you will. Look up dear friend of the show, Randy, aka Arson, the voice of reason, and his group Gangsta Grass, who just this week appeared on America's Got Talent and are moving on to the next round of the show. I see big things for these guys, these Gangsta Grass, America's greatest bluegrass hip-hop band. Go to gangstagrass.com, check out everything they do, give them some love. They are fantastic brothers, and I'm wishing them nothing but huge success.
So cool. I watched that. That was awesome.
Me too. Yeah, I've never given a shit about AGT, but now I watch.
Me neither, right?
You're right.
I'm in.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I hope you have a good, safe 4th of July. And we will talk at you later. That's it.
That's it.